Hi, I'm Barbara Angelis, and I'd like to welcome you to Making Love Work. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me into your home and your life. I've spent the past 13 years teaching couples and singles how to make love work through my books, my radio and TV shows, and my seminars. But it's always been a dream of mine to take the information and techniques that have helped so many men and women, including me, and bring them to people like you, right in the privacy of your own home. Now at last that dream has come true, and it's really a privilege for me to be able to share my Making Love Work program with you. Today you're beginning something that's going to change your life and help you create the relationships you deserve. And I'm proud of you for making the decision to give yourself the gift of making love work. By deciding to use this program, you've made a commitment to grow and to learn more about yourself and about love. And the more you know about love and how relationships work, the better your relationships are going to be. The Making Love Work program isn't a quick fix or a bunch of superficial solutions to your love problems. Rather, it's a powerful, step-by-step system that will teach you everything you need to know about love and help you break through any emotional blocks that are keeping you from being the person you want to be and having the relationship you want to have. I've designed the program so that you can go through it at your own pace, and I'll be personally guiding you through every step of self-discovery. I'd like to take a minute to go over the different components that came with your Making Love Work program. When you open your program case, you'll notice 5 audio cassettes. These contain 5 audio-taped lessons which you'll be listening to in sequence, either by yourself or with a partner. These tapes include love lessons, which are lots of powerful information, love journeys, guided exercises you'll do to learn more about your inner world, and love techniques that you can start practicing right away. You'll start with tape 1 and go on through them at your own pace. Along with your tapes, you'll be using your Making Love Work personal guidebook. The guidebook is one of the most important components in your program. It contains powerful written exercises, self-discovery quizzes, and summary points for each lesson. As you listen to each audio tape, I'll be asking you to stop, open up your guidebook, and do a particular exercise. You'll be amazed at how much you learn from using this guidebook. I'd also like to bring your attention to the beginning of the guidebook. You'll notice a section called How to Use the Making Love Work program. This has detailed instructions about using the program which go much more in depth than I'm doing now. So when you're done watching this introduction, read your guidebook instructions before going on and listening to your first tape. The next component of your program is the video seminar, the tape you're watching right now. Following this introduction is the relationship seminar and demonstrations of my love techniques. The best time to watch your video seminar is in the middle of lesson 3 of your audio tapes, where I explain and introduce it. You'll want to watch this seminar several times to absorb all the information. The last part of your program is your bonus video, Men, Women, and Love. Everything you were never taught about the opposite sex. You're going to have fun watching this tape, and you can do that anytime you wish, since the material in it stands alone. By the way, if your partner is reluctant to go through this program with you, try sharing this Men-Women video with him or her first. They'll find it so enjoyable and non-threatening that they'll be much more open to doing the rest of the program. Well, now it's time for you to begin. Don't forget to read the complete instructions in your guidebook before turning on the first audio tape. Remember, I'll be taking you through every step, motivating and guiding you to get the results you want and deserve in your life. Have fun, and I'll talk to you again soon. Welcome back to your Making Love Work video. By now, you should have finished your audio lessons 1 and 2 and be starting or in the middle of lesson 3. You're about to sit in on a special relationship seminar that will teach you all about the dynamics of love. You may want to take notes because I know you'll be hearing information that will change the way you understand relationships forever. Have fun. For the next hour, you're going to be hearing some information that I promise you is going to change your life. It's going to change your love life. It's going to change your family life. It's going to answer some questions about relationships you have always had. It's going to help you understand why sometimes in relationships you literally feel like you are going crazy or like the other person is driving you crazy. I see some of you looking at your husbands already. And it's also going to teach you some secrets about the dynamics of relationships that I have found you need to know to make your relationships work. So take lots of notes, think about it as you listen to it. This is something you're going to be watching over and over again in this video program because you can't hear all the information the first time. There's going to be so much of it. And you want to concentrate on three things as you listen to this information. First, your parents' relationship with each other and with you as children. So you want to look at your past. Second, your relationship with any person that you happen to be involved with now, your husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend, and also friends. And third, your relationship with your own children, if you have them. So we're going to do 3 generations, okay? Parents, yourself now, and your own kids if you have them. And that'll be the kind of thing you'll be taking the notes on. So stay focused and get ready to hear some things that are going to change your life. So let's look at the dynamics of relationships. And over here we have a diagram that's going to show you what the dynamics are of an intimate relationship. Now here's our couple, Jack and Jill. Aren't they cute? Jack and Jill are married. And Jack and Jill each come into the relationship, and together they make a relationship. A relationship is just the interaction between your emotional energy and your partner's emotional energy. You know when you were in chemistry class in high school and they say that you take one beaker of a chemical and another beaker and you pour them together and what do you get? A third chemical, right? So the third chemical is a combination of 1 and 2. It's completely different. And that's the truth about relationships. A relationship is just your emotional energy and contribution and your partner's together. And if you want to change a relationship, what do you need to change? Right, you need to change yourself. You either need to change Jack or Jill. The relationship doesn't just change. There is no such thing as a relationship without the two people contributing every day, all the time. And a relationship is alive, it's breathing, it's living. It's changing constantly depending upon Jack and Jill, how they're changing, how they're feeling. This is the exciting thing about relationships, and that's why they can permanently and completely transform themselves, even a dead relationship, because these two people are constantly changing and growing. Now, Jack and Jill also, you notice, are not just coming into the relationship open-handed. They're both bringing something in, and they each have these little wagons, carts or trucks, whatever you want to call them, piled up with this stuff that we call emotional baggage. And in some of the lessons that hopefully you've listened to already, we've talked about what emotional baggage is. Those emotional wounds that we experienced as children or in our past relationships, in divorces, in situations that didn't work out. Those emotions that we carry from one relationship to another. And as we get older, does our wagon get higher, full of stuff, or lower? It gets higher, and it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. So here come Jack and Jill both bringing in their emotional baggage into the relationship with one another. Those things also contribute to how the relationship feels. Okay? Above the surface of the relationship, above the surface, is where we think most relationships really happen. If you say to somebody, what are the things that make up a relationship? They'll say things like your sex life, how you communicate with each other, what you fight about, how your family feels, how intimate or how close you are. But the truth is, these things are not the real source, the real soul of a relationship. The real soul of a relationship, the basis of every relationship, is underneath the surface. Underneath the surface. This up here is really where we play out our relationship. But what's underneath the surface is what makes the relationship work or not work. And what's underneath the relationship is what I call emotional tension. E.T. Not from outer space, but emotional tension. And emotional tension is the energy that builds up in a relationship, contributed by either Jack or Jill, and their emotional tension that they bring into the relationship. Now, to your lessons, we've been talking about what creates emotional tension in a couple or in a person. Let me just remind you some of the things we talked about that create ET. Number one, not telling the complete truth, right? Not getting those feelings out, pushing them down, not talking about them, Suppressed anger. We talked about that too. Pushing down resentment. Holding on to them. It creates those 4 R's that you go through with your partner. Not asking for what you need. Creates a lot of emotional tension. Not listening to your own inner voice. Not feeling loved enough. Being love-starved creates emotional tension. Holding on to guilt creates emotional tension. So as we've been going through our lessons, and if you are watching this video first, when you do go through your lessons, you'll see that there are a lot of things that create emotional tension inside of us as individuals. And that ET builds up and creates a tension in you, an emotional tension. And when you meet someone else and you're in love, they add their ET, emotional tension. And between the two of you, you have this pile of stuff there in the relationship. And it sits under the surface. And it creates tension where? Above the surface. So these things, your sex life, your communication, your fights, are nothing more than symptoms of how much emotional tension you have inside of you and your relationship has. So if you're having, for instance, a lot of fights, and you know you're never fighting for the reasons you think you are you? You're not fighting because the person didn't feed the dog right, or the toilet paper's turned the wrong way, or someone left the toilet seat up, or you didn't put the dishes in the dishwasher. We're fighting because of the emotional tension that's built up. You know this is true because have you ever had a fight with someone and you finally figured out whose fault it was and you talked about it and you finally made up and you got it all settled, and a half hour later what happens? Right? You start another fight again about something else. You're not fighting about those things. There's emotional tension that's built up between you, and it's erupting on the surface. Now, we're here right now in Southern California, and if you've lived here for a while, you've probably experienced an earthquake, right? And you know that when there's an earthquake and the trees are shaking, your house is shaking, everything's shaking, it's not the trees that are unstable. It's not your house that's unstable. Where's the tension coming from? That's right, deep in the earth. Deep in the earth there is literally some tension. And that tension gets to a point where it's so big and it erupts on the weakest points. Those are called fault lines. That's exactly what happens in your relationship. When emotional tension builds up between you and another person, it will erupt eventually at your weak point. So let's say that your communication's never been strong. When you have enough ET building up, it's going to be your communication where it erupts. You're going to start misunderstanding each other. Or if you know that your sex life has never been great, maybe you're a little shy, you haven't talked about what you like and you don't like, when you start having a lot of ET building up, you're going to notice you start having less sex. Or maybe you tend to have a little temper, tend to pop off a lot. So some of you looking very guilty right now. So you'll notice when you have a lot of ET building up, your temper is going to go. You see? So it'll always erupt at your weak point. The bottom line is this. If you want a relationship with a great sex life, great communication, little fighting, happy, harmonious family, lots of intimacy, you have to deal with what's below the surface and get your ET level down to eliminate this emotional tension that's beneath the surface between you. And that means Jack has to get rid of his emotional tension. Jill has to get rid of hers. They have to get rid of the stuff they create together. And then they will see improvement up here. You can't just work on your sex life or your communication. It's like putting a Band-Aid on something. And then the same thing's going to happen again. You have to deal with it at its source. So that's the first thing I want you to understand, that the real relationship problems go on down here. This is what I call the inner marriage, or the inner relationship between two people. Okay? Does it make sense so far? Yeah. All right. So this is the first part. All right, next, let's look at how your emotional tension affects someone you're in a relationship with. Whether it's an intimate relationship like a husband or wife, a business partner, family member, child, whatever. And how what you do with your emotions on a daily basis, whether you push them down, whether you talk about them, whether you hide them, how that affects the people around you. And can actually create either a great relationship or can drive you both insane. This is the part I want you to really take lots of notes on and pay attention. And you're going to hear things that sound like you, sound like your partner, sound like your kids, sound like your parents, all right? I'm going to draw Jack and Jill a little bit differently. I'm going to draw Jack and Jill like two containers.
the kind of container that you would store a liquid in. So here's Jack. I'm going to try to do this without making a mistake. Jack's like a storage tank. There he is. He looks pretty good. Here's Jack, and let's try Jill. Here's Jill. And what I'm drawing is their relationship. Here are the two of them. I'll give her some hair. She definitely needs a new hairdresser. She got a bad perm. Here's Jack and here's Jill, and I'm drawing them as if they are a container of emotional energy, which they are. And imagine that emotions are like a liquid that can either rise up in the container or be very low. This little pipe between them, we're going to call their relationship. And this pipe means that they have connected their containers together. When you're in a relationship with someone, whether it's a lover, whether it's a business partner, you can feel their energy, can't you? You know when they're upset, even if they're not talking about it. You know when they're happy. You can feel their emotions. You can tell when their moods change. So we call that the little pipe effect. And this pipe connects Jack's tank to Jill's tank. And it allows them to feel what the other person's feeling. You have this pipe effect, of course, when you're married or living with someone. You have this when you work very closely with people. You have this pipe effect in families, with children and with parents. You even have this pipe effect when you have sex with someone, even one time. Now don't panic, some of you single people. Even one time. You have that little pipe effect for a while afterwards. You can feel their energy. Let's look at how Jack's emotional tension in his tank and Jill's affect their partner. And we're going to start out with, let's take anger. I'm going to write the emotion anger up here. All right. Here's the situation. Jack and Jill are married. They've been married for a while. And they're talking about Labor Day weekend. It's a 3-day weekend coming up. And Jill is feeling like she hasn't seen Jack in a while. They haven't spent a lot of intimate time together. And she's thinking maybe they can take a long weekend together without any distractions, no kids, just the two of them to get cozy and romantic again. So she turns to her husband one day and says, honey, you know, this weekend's coming up. And I was thinking that maybe what we can do is go away together and just be together like we used to, have some time, kind of fall back in love again and make up for the time we've been spending so busy all year long. And Jack turns to her and says, oh, you know what, honey? I forgot to tell you, I'm going fishing that weekend. See, my college roommate's coming down, and I haven't seen him for a while, and we thought it would be really cool to go fishing that weekend, just the boys. You know, the guys' weekend, have a great time, get out there, not shave, not bathe, you know. The kind of stuff guys like to do, and I'm sorry, I know you're disappointed, but that's going to be the fishing weekend. Okay, ladies, what starts to bubble up in Jill's tank? Anger. I can't believe it, he's going fishing, he didn't tell me. But what is she taught as a woman about expressing her anger, about saying not nice things? Is it polite? Is it ladylike? Is she being a good wife? No. What do people call women who get angry? That's right. Thank you. Thank you, men, for reminding us. So here comes the anger. Watch this. Here comes the anger bubbling up in Jill's tank. And what does she do with it? She doesn't even know what's happening, by the way. This is all unconscious. Shh. She pushes it down. And watch how the conversation goes. Right? Jack says, I'm going fishing. Jill feels her, takes a deep breath, pushes it down, turns to him and says, okay, honey, fishing, well, I understand. I guess that's okay. And what happens? Watch what happens when I push this down. What happens to this energy? Remember, emotions are energy. We've been talking about that in this program. Emotions are energy. Energy moves. It doesn't disappear. So when she pushes down this energy, where does it go? Yeah. That's right. It goes through the pipe over here as she pushes it down. And Jack, all of a sudden, starts feeling annoyed. And watch the conversation. She says, okay, fishing, that's fine, honey, I understand. He looks at her and says, you know, it doesn't sound like you understand me. You started to sound a little bit annoyed to me. And as he gets a little upset, what does she do? Pushes it down even more, says, no, honey, really, it's okay. I'm not upset. You don't have to raise your voice. I understand. It's okay to go fishing. As she's pushing it down even more, he's feeling it even more. And he says, you're always trying to tell me what to do. You know, you started this whole thing in the first place. I'm the one who said I was going fishing. You're the one who has the bad attitude about it. And as she sees him getting angrier, she gets even calmer and calmer and says, honey, I didn't do anything. Why are you yelling at me? I don't know what's happening here. And as she pushes it down even more, Jack blows, completely blows. Maybe he storms out of the room, and she stands there, looks at him, and thinks to herself, what a temper. I don't know, what is his problem? I mean, we were just having this nice conversation. This dynamic, which you're recognizing already, is called the seesaw effect. The seesaw effect. And the seesaw effect is as follows. And you want to remember this. The emotions that you suppress, the emotions you push down, deny, don't pay attention to, pretend aren't happening, your partner will express. The emotions you suppress, your partner will express. And of course, vice versa. The emotions your partner suppresses, you will feel and express. The emotions you suppress, your partner feels and expresses. The emotions your partner suppresses and doesn't feel, you feel and express. And this is why it's called the seesaw effect. Because one side goes down, the other side goes up. One side goes down, the other side goes up. And we call this tanking. When you're tanking somebody, it's kind of a little abbreviation. Now, let's take this one step further, because when people look at Jack and Jill, who looks like the nice one in the relationship? Jill. And who looks like Mr. Hothead? Jack. That's right. You know, God, I don't understand it. You know, Jill's so sweet and so even-tempered. And Jack, I mean, you know, he's always getting upset and he's blowing up at everyone. And I don't know how she puts up with it. Think again. Jill is probably tanking Jack to death. Now let's talk about an extreme example of this so you can understand it. Because I want you to relate this now to your own life, your own families, the family you grew up in, your family of origin, your relationships now, your past relationships, and you and your kids, okay? Have you ever been talking to somebody and telling them how you feel and expressing yourself and you're real emotional and they're sitting there just looking at you with no expression on their face? And you say to them, well, I mean, I just finished. How do you feel? And they say, I heard you. Well, I mean, say something, you know. What do you want me to say? What do your hands start to do? How do you start to feel? No, don't choke him yet. How do you start to feel? Don't you feel like you want to shake them? Just say something, talk to me, don't just sit there. Now, hopefully you don't do that. Hopefully you don't do that because you're not a violent person. But what's happening in that moment? They're tanking you. See? He or she is sitting there, feeling a lot. And you're going crazy, and the more they sit there and don't do anything, the more you feel like you're ready to blow. Now take that tendency you have, like you want to shake them, and let's apply it to something. Let's say Jill has so much emotional tension, so much anger, maybe from childhood, that she's never expressed. It's completely stuffed down. Maybe she grew up in a dysfunctional home. Maybe there was abuse. Maybe there was molestation. And she has all this feeling, but she doesn't ever talk about it. So she has a tank with a big plunger. Take Jack, and let's say he already has a tank with a lot of anger. And you have the formula for physical violence. the formula for physical violence, which is a major problem in our country. A major problem. The majority of homicides in our country are not committed by a stranger trying to take your money. They're by a husband or wife against their partner. The majority of murders. Tanking. That's what's really happening here. So imagine that Jill just has so much rage but just sits there and looks at Jack and doesn't say a thing. And Jack already has a high tank. It can push him over the edge. This is not to condone physical violence. There is no excuse, in my opinion, ever for physical violence. Ever. Against an adult or a child. But it's going to happen if one person pushes down like this and the other person already has a big tank of anger. If you know somebody who has been through this, if you've been through this before or are going through it now, Jill has to find her voice and has to get some of that anger out. Or else Jack is going to blow. This kind of a Jack. Both of them are responsible. And this is always the case in tanking. See, I know some of you are already thinking, I got our relationship, I'm Jack and he's Jill. That's not true. Maybe with anger, Jill's the one who pushes it down and Jack blows. Maybe with some of the other emotions we'll talk about in a minute, he's the one who pushes it down and she's the one who feels it. So it's never really black and white. And I'm also using Jack and Jill as names, but they don't really apply to gender because you can be a female Jack, you can be a male Jill. It's most common with anger that women are usually the ones, because of the way we've been brought up to be nice girls, that we end up pushing it down. But it happens the other way all the time as well. How many of you can relate to this, just listening to this? In your families, in your relationships, this explains a lot, doesn't it? What you're starting to suspect is that not only can you have tanking with two people, but with many people. So before we go on and talk about some other emotions aside from anger, let's look at what happens in a family, the dynamics of a family. And you can think about this as your family you grew up in, or if you have kids. Now, how many of you have children now? All right, so then you can apply this to you with your children now. Let me draw a picture of a family for you. All right, this is a typical family. We have Dad, Mom, the little tanks, the kids, and, see if I can do this, the dog. Because animals feel everything. It looks like a rat, but it's not. This is a family, an interconnected system of energy containers. Mom, Dad, and the kids. Now let's look at what happens in most families. All right? Most of us, because of the way society has been, had parents who pushed down a lot of feelings. Maybe they took turns, but there was a lot of suppression, correct? How many of you had families where there was a lot of suppressed feelings? Couldn't talk about it. So here's Mom and Dad pushing down all their emotions. Where does this energy go? Goes over, first of all, to the first child. All Mom and Dad's fear, all Mom and Dad's suppressed anger, all Mom and Dad's concerns and worries that they're not talking about, their unhappiness. And all of a sudden you get a kid who's insecure, who's crying a lot, who's hitting the other kids, who's wetting their bed, who is shy. And they're saying, oh my gosh, our children have a problem. He or she is feeling all the emotions from Mom and Dad. Now here's what happens. First of all, older children shut down and suppress first. That's what growing up is. The older we get, the more we learn to control our feelings. So the older kids usually push down their feelings first. And what happens to the youngest kid in the family? The youngest kid in the family many times becomes the garbage dump, the emotional garbage dump for the family. How many of you are the youngest child? Aha! No wonder you need this program. Right? See, poor John, he's always been a little, extra sensitive. He has to do these seminars and, buy these tapes. Because he has problems. We all know it. We're all stable, but John, does this describe you? How some of your family members talk about you? Because if you're the littlest tank, and everyone else pushes down before you, you end up getting everything. Many times younger kids are the ones who have the most drug problems or substance abuse problems, behavioral problems, insecurities. People say it's because they were younger, they didn't get attention. It's not why. It's because of all the seesaw effect that goes on. Now sometimes, if you're a girl in the middle of a lot of guys, you end up getting tanked by everybody, because guys also shut down before girls. Little boys are taught to be less emotional. Or you may just be the most sensitive person in a family, no matter what age you are. And you feel everyone else pushing down, and you feel everything. A lot of people I have worked with over the years are still to this day feeling and carrying emotions that aren't even theirs, that belong to their mom or their dad or somebody else. Emotions that were never expressed, and they took them all on. If you do have a lot of emotions and you're trying to stuff them down all the time, and you can't, because it is difficult, you do end up needing drugs, alcohol, food, to numb all of that. And so as we're talking about mom tanking or dad tanking, or one person in the family who had everybody's feelings, the younger brother or the younger sister, and they ended up getting into drugs or alcohol, it's no accident that people go towards addictions. Addictions help you, not really, but they help you temporarily not feel how much stuff is in your tank. This explains some of you maybe who are in recovery, who've had trouble or challenges with this, because you have all this feeling, not just yours, but from your family, and you have to do something to not feel it. It's not the answer, which is why when anyone does go into recovery from alcoholism or drug abuse, the first step is getting rid of the substance. The second step is doing something like this program, where you really learn what's been underneath the addiction all the time, which is all the emotion. It's the emotion, not the addiction, that's the real problem. Now, let's talk about your own families, for those of you who have children. See, it's easy to look at your parents and go, well, my parents tanked everyone, and no wonder the kids were crazy. How many of you sitting here can see some evidence of this in your own family with your own children now? Children are our mirrors. Children are our mirrors. And many times they're just reflecting back to us the emotions we don't want to look at. And so we say, stop it. And who are we really talking to? Our own inner child. We talked about that in the first few lessons of this program, our own inner child. So your little 3-year-old girls, they're crying or saying, I need love or I need attention. You're saying, go away. They're you. I worked with a woman once, I will never forget this, who came to me and said, I have a 3-year-old daughter. This was a single mother, bringing up her child by herself. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I have the same problem every night. She throws a tantrum. When it's time to go to bed and pick out her clothes for school, she cries, she whines, she screams. It drives me crazy. It's been going on for 3 months. I don't know what to do. So I said, well, tell me a bit about yourself. She said, well, I'm a single mom, I work, da, 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 da. And I noticed she's very in control. So I said, you sound like you have it pretty in control, very together. She said, oh yes, you know, I have to. I'm a single mother, I have it all organized, I have lists. I said, do you ever let yourself just fall apart? She said, well, I can't. I mean, I have to be very contained, very organized. I said, do you ever let yourself just feel how angry you are having to be a single mom, how hard it is to be alone, how sad you feel sometimes doing it all by yourself? And she said, well, no, I can't. I don't want to show my daughter those feelings. I said, just try something. I said, the next time your daughter starts to have a tantrum, I want you to stop what you're doing, get on the bed, and have a complete tantrum. She said, well, what do you mean? It's a bad example. I said, just get on the bed, and when your daughter starts going, I don't want to, where does this go? I don't want to go. I want you to have a tantrum. And just tell me what happens. Call me back. She calls me back the next day and says, Barbara, you won't believe this. Tonight, clockwork, 7:30, my daughter starts her tantrum. I felt a little strange, but I decided to do what you said. So I got on the bed, and I said, I hate being a mommy. I'm tired of doing it all by myself. I don't want to wash the dishes tonight. I don't want to get up to go to work tomorrow morning. I don't like having to clean up. She said, my daughter stopped everything she was saying, sat back, watched me for 5 minutes, and then kissed me goodnight and said, "Good night, Mommy," got into bed and went to sleep. Her daughter was feeling all the emotion that Mom was not letting herself feel because she wanted to be strong. She was feeling the anger. She was feeling the sadness. She was feeling the fear. And at the end of the day, when moms, especially single moms, but all moms feel like, I can't hear one more question or I'm going to kill. And Mom was just like, shut up and go to sleep because I'm going to kill you. But she's trying to be very calm. Honey, pick out your clothes. And the daughter would look at Mom and go, ah! And those were Mom's feelings. So it goes on in families all the time. The best thing that you are doing for your children is doing this program. The best thing you're doing for your children. Because not only by understanding this can you understand their reactions and emotions, but by practicing all the techniques that you've been learning or you will learn if you haven't done that part yet, and learning how to get the feelings out instead of pushing them down, you will not be tanking your kids and passing this down, because this does go from generation to generation, doesn't it? You could add here your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and the stuff keeps going. This is about breaking the chain, what we're doing here. What you're doing, you should be so proud of yourself. This is about breaking the family chain. And your kids will thank you one day for it. Okay, we've talked about anger. Let's talk about another emotion. Some of you may not have related to the anger. Let's talk about more sensitive or vulnerable emotions that we can push down, like hurt, fear, things like that, all right? So let's get rid of the anger. And this time, we're going to talk about fear and vulnerability and sensitivity. And let's say that Jack and Jill are talking about money. Money's a good topic to have a fight about. They're talking about money. Perhaps they're going on a trip soon, and their travel agent calls and they need to give a down payment. It's a big, once-in-a-lifetime thing that they've been saving up for. And Jill approaches her husband to bring up the topic of money and how they're going to pay the bill. And of course, when you talk about money, what bubbles up in your tank? A little fear. All of us have fear about money, not having enough, paying our taxes. So she turns to Jack and says, honey, the travel agent called and they really need that down payment for that trip we're taking. And I know things are tight right now, but you know, we really have to kind of tell them when we're going to give them the money. And as she says it, she feels a little fear bubbling up. Jack feels a little fear bubbling up in his tank. Only as a man, what is Jack taught about fearful, sensitive, weak emotions? Is it okay for a man to feel these? Yeah. No, he's going to be called a sissy, not manly, not macho. So when Jack feels fear, worry, anxiety bubbling up in his tank, what's he do, guys? Stuffs it down. And this is how the conversation goes. Jill says, honey, you know, the travel agent called and we really need to put that down payment down or we're going to lose our trip. Here comes the fear in Jack's tank, pushes it down, turns to Jill and says, don't worry, I'll handle it. Sound familiar? As he pushes down his fear, what happens over here? She gets more fearful, more panicky. She says, well, honey, I know you said you'll handle it, but if we don't send it in by next week, it's not going to happen, and what are we going to do, and what if we miss the cruise and we won't be able to get another reservation, and Christmas is coming? And as he sees her getting more emotional, guys, what does he do? He pushes his emotions down. You have such a guilty look in your face right now. He pushes his emotions down even more, and he says, look, I said I'll handle it, just relax. And as he is relaxing, in other words, controlling his feelings, how's she starting to feel, ladies? Out of control. Well, honey, what if it don't happen? I don't know what to do. And he's getting more logical. He says, look, you don't have to get hysterical. I said I'll handle it. And of course, at this point, she's completely screaming, crying. He's sitting there, totally calm, no emotion. And he's thinking to himself, my wife is a basket case. My wife is nuts. She's nuts. She's gone over the edge. I have no idea why she's behaving like this. And what's she thinking? I'm a basket case. That's what she's thinking. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm so emotional. The calmer he gets, the more emotional she gets, because she's feeling not only her fear and anxiety, but what? She's feeling his fear and anxiety too. Until she's feeling all the emotions and he's Mr. Calm. Or she's feeling all the tears and he's Mr. Okay. And what do their friends think? Poor Jack. I mean, Jill is like this emotional one. I mean, she's always crying. She's upset. And he's so even-tempered. He's so reliable. I don't know how he puts up with it. And she thinks, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm so emotional lately. I'm just having all these moods. I'm depressed. I'm high. I'm low. And after a while, she turns to him and says, you know what, honey, I don't know what to do. I'm just feeling all these feelings. He says, you need some help. You need help, honey. I think you need to go see a therapist or a counselor. And what does she say? You're right. I do need help. So Jill decides to go into therapy. Now let me draw therapy for you, all right? I'm going to draw therapy over here, because when you're in a relationship with a therapist, you're going once a week or twice a week. You're sitting in a room talking about emotions. So you have a little tank effect going. Now I'm going to draw a traditional therapist, all right? There are many different kinds of therapy these days. Some are very wonderful. They're very progress-oriented. But traditional therapy, I'm going to draw right now. Let's say we're going to draw a male therapist, all right? So here is a traditional male therapist. He's very traditional. And we're going to call him Dr. Tank, all right? Now, traditional therapists, and this is luckily changing. And anyone here may or may not be a therapist, but what are you taught as a traditional therapist? Are you supposed to show your feelings to your client? Are you supposed to get emotional? Are you supposed to make comments? Nothing. So she's saying, I don't know what to do. My husband doesn't love me. Maybe he's having an affair. And my father beat me when I was a child. And Dr. Tank is sitting there taking notes saying, what else would you like to say? How did that make you feel? And then what happened? What do you think it meant? Sound familiar? And what is he feeling, though? What is he feeling? That's what he's saying. What's he feeling as she's talking about this? He's feeling feelings. Oh, that sounds terrible. And her husband sounds like a jerk. And oh my gosh, her father beat her. He's feeling emotions. What is he doing with his emotions? That's right. He's stuffing them down. He is tanking Jill. And she's paying for it. She's paying $75 or $100. To be tanked by Dr. Tank. She's getting tanked by her husband on one side, Dr. Tank on the other. At the end of the session, how does she feel? Oh my God, I got so emotional. I better come back twice a week. And if that doesn't work, and she's still very emotional, he may say, you know what? You need some tranquilizers. You need some antidepressants. You need something to calm you down, because you're obviously way too emotional. And if that doesn't work, maybe he'll put her in a mental hospital for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, so she can get totally numb and suppressed like everyone else. This happens all the time. All the time. Any of you ever have a therapist like Dr. Tank in your life? Ever go to marriage counseling with someone like this? You end up fighting the whole time? He says, good, you're getting your feelings out. We didn't have to pay to fight in front of you. Because most people don't even understand this dynamic. And that's why I want to share it in this program with you. And I constantly meet people who feel like they have been the crazy one in a relationship because everyone else is so calm and they are totally over-emotional. And professionals have even told them that it's their problem. That it's their problem. Never wondering or meeting even this person. If you are going to see Dr. Tank right now, or you know someone who is, get them this program instead. Get them this program, sit them down, just show them this one videotape. Just this one tape. And they'll see the light. Now, therapy can be very helpful, especially with good therapists who are really working towards helping you achieve some goals. But if you feel like this, and you're with somebody who seems to have no feeling at all, you're going to get tanked. here's what I want you to know about this dynamic. If you are Jill right now, and Jill can be male or female, if you're Jill and you are with a Jack, you are married to or living with or going out with a Jack who pushes down everything, who never feels emotional, everything's calm, everything's logical, be prepared to go crazy. Be prepared to go crazy. Be prepared to feel like you're absolutely out of control. Be prepared to feel all kinds of emotions all the time and really think something's wrong with you, because that's exactly what is going to happen to you until the day you leave that relationship. And if you leave that relationship the first night alone, you know what you're going to feel? Wow, I feel so calm. I feel centered. I feel happy. I don't understand. I mean, I'm like a different person. Your friends will see you and say, you're so calm. You're so wonderful. Try one phone call back to Jack. One phone call, one visit, God forbid, sleep with him. Crazy again. I know. I've been Jill. I've worked with thousands and thousands of Jills of both sexes. If you are with a Jack, you have two choices. You make Jack watch this tape, listen to this program, and begin to feel safe, to start to feel his feelings. But if he will not, either leave or be prepared to feel like a loony bin all the time. There's no other alternative. I wish I could tell you one, but there isn't. And if you're a Jack, either male or female, be prepared to feel like your partner is nuts. Be prepared to look at them and feel like I have no peace in this house. Because it's you. It's you. And I've met men, for instance, who've said, I don't understand it. You know, when I met her, she was so stable. When I met her, she was so calm and strong and loved herself. What happened to her? You happened to her, Jack. That's what I say. You happened to her. And it happens with every woman I'm with. I don't understand it. What happens to women when they get married? No, it's when they get married to you. What happens to them? Because he's tanking them like crazy all the time. Using the tools in this program, the emotional map, you can learn to put a voice to the feelings and stop this process. But if one person doesn't, the other one's going to end up feeling like this. I see this dynamic all the time in relationships, and what you want to be careful of is not waking up tomorrow morning and turning to your husband or your wife and saying, you know, I woke up this morning feeling a little angry. Are you upset about something you're not talking about? See, be careful not to use this as artillery, as ammunition. You're tanking me. You're tanking. The most important thing is to learn about dealing with your own feelings. And if you take care of yours and your partner takes care of theirs, the whole relationship will be better. So don't go around quoting me and blaming your partner, all right? Because that's not what you're supposed to be doing with all of this. Not only does this work with, let's say, not comfortable emotions, it works with positive emotions as well. Let's look at how it works with love and need, because I bet you haven't thought about that. Can you tank somebody with your love and your need? Absolutely. Let me get her cleaned up here. She got a little wild in that last interchange. All right, Jack and Jill are in a relationship, and they love each other, and they need each other. Only, let's say that Jack grew up perhaps in a family where his mom died at an early age, or where Dad made Jack be really tough, so Jack doesn't feel safe needing anyone. Or maybe he was divorced once before, and he's really afraid to open his heart again. So Jack and Jill are lying in bed with each other. I'll give her back her body. And they're both feeling in love, and she says, oh, honey, I love you, and I need you. And he hears that, and he says, well, I love you too. And he feels all that need, and what does he do with it? He pushes it down. He pushes it down because he's afraid to need her. Where does all that need go? Where does all those emotions go? You get the idea? And what does Jill start to feel? Needy, clingy. She's feeling her love, and she's feeling all the feelings Jack is not feeling. And the more he pushes down how much he loves her and needs her and denies it, the more needy and clingy she gets. Honey, I love you. I need you to give me a hug, give me a kiss. And then he starts to feel, I want my space. Right, guys? I want my space. What he really wants space from is how much he loves her, how much he needs her. And the more he feels he wants his space, what's she doing? Don't go anywhere. I want you. Call me every 5 minutes. Until one day, she is totally insecure. I love you. I need you. I'm going to die without you. And he's thinking, I don't even know if I want to go home. Well, one day, finally, Jill says, I've had it. I've had it. That's it. She's read one of my books, or she's watched a TV show, or she's listened to these tapes, and that's it. I've had it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm love-starved. And she takes all her love, all her need, and in one fell swoop, what's she do with it? She pushes it all down, says, that's it, Jack, goodbye, I'm breaking up, I'm leaving. And what does Jack feel all of a sudden? No, wait, I love you, I need you, I have to have you, honey, flowers, candy. And she's thinking, this is interesting. I mean, yesterday he didn't want anything to do with me, now he can't live without me. And the more she just says, okay, I'm just going to play hard to get here, what is he doing? Honey, come back, I'll do anything. Sound familiar? And as long as she pushes down how much she loves him, he will be full of feeling for her. Until one day she goes, well, all right, I'll start to open up again a little bit. And as she starts to feel how much she loves him again and tell him, all of a sudden he gets scared again and pushes it down. And all of a sudden now she's the one who wants to get married and he's the one who doesn't want to do it. And they go back and forth. See, saw. You can do this for years. Has anyone gone through this with somebody? One day I love you, but you don't love me. Now you love me, but I don't love you. This can drive a couple crazy. Even, it is driving you crazy? Yes. It can even drive a married couple crazy as you play emotional games with each other. The only solution to this is if you are feeling all this need and love and you think your partner is pushing down his need or her need for you, don't cut it off automatically. Don't play hard to get, because you'll get an artificial reaction in them and it won't be permanent. Keep your heart open, but ask for what you want. Use those exercises that you've learned. Make a list of those things that you need that feed love, and give your partner time and an ultimatum. And if after he or she sees that you don't go away, you do still love them, they may get safe learning to love again, because it is fear of intimacy that causes this. But if after 6 months or a year or 5 years, whatever it is that feels comfortable to you, they still don't open up, then you know. But don't play games to try to get someone to love you, because they will. That's why your grandmother said, play hard to get and the boys will like you. And it works, but not in the long run. Not in the long run. So this is how this can be used even with positive feelings. And it explains a lot of what goes on in a relationship where there are power struggles, especially intimacy struggles with two people. Now there's one thing you may have been thinking as we've talked about this. What happens when both people, Jack and Jill, are pushing down lots of feelings? Jack's pushing down all kinds of feelings and Jill's pushing down all kinds of feelings. And all this energy is pushing here. What happens? Can you see that? That's right. The pipe bursts. The pipe bursts. There's too much pressure. Their connection bursts. And what do you have now? Single beds. You have two people who don't feel connected, who say, I love you, but I am not in love anymore. Where did that feeling go? Where did that magic go? You know, I care about you, but I don't feel that connection, that juice, that chemistry. This is the main reason in relationships we lose that feeling with our partner, because we have been pushing down so much emotion, so much feeling, going through those 4 R's that we talk about during the lessons, that finally our pipe bursts. It's too much pressure, and we lose that sense of intimacy with our partner. How many of your parents ended up like this? Separate but together. Any of you been through this where the pipe has burst in a relationship? And of course the other question is, so can you get it back again? Can you build that pipe again? And the answer is absolutely. with a lot of work, applying everything this program talks about, using all the techniques, and both people making a very strong commitment. But it takes a lot of work. And it's worth it. And I have seen thousands and thousands of couples build their pipes back again together. But you do it by cleaning out your tank. Because the truth is, if you're with somebody who has a tank full of so much emotional junk, you don't want to be connected with them anymore, do you? You want to cut it off. That's the only way you can even live together and not feel crazy with your partner. So what's the solution to all this? What's the moral of the story? Well, it's actually very simple. Obviously, we're seeing that our goal is to get as much of this emotional tension in our tank as low as possible. So what do you do when it builds up? I forgot to show you one thing on this drawing. See, each tank has a valve right about here. And when you feel the emotional tension building up, you open the valve, and all that ET comes out. In other words, you use the techniques that we've been talking about to express and put words to feelings. And it's that simple. We were given the ability as humans to have emotions. We were also given the ability to communicate. And that's to save us from going crazy. And if you've been practicing any of the techniques in the program, you know that when you open your valve and you let the energy out, what happens to your ET level? It goes way down, right? And all of a sudden you feel better again. Exactly like some of you have said here tonight. You talked about it, the tension went away. Using those techniques, using that emotional map. But if you don't let the ET out, it's going to build up. It'll end up creating dis-ease in your body. It'll create dis-ease in your home. Take away all the harmony. It's that simple. This is the principle. The techniques you have to practice. You have to get good at them. You have to listen to those tapes over and over again. You have to practice them over and over again. You have to watch this over and over again until you get it right and understand all of it. But when you do, you will absolutely see a total change in how you feel and how your relationships feel. Let's take this one step further. Because it's not just that you and a partner have this little tank relationship, the seesaw effect. The truth is, we have it with everyone in the world. In fact, we are all really just walking tanks. See, when I walk out of the house in the morning, I'm a tank with my pipe sticking out. That's what I am. I get dressed, put on my makeup, I put on my clothes, I take my tank out, and here's my pipe. Now let's say I'm single, and I go to a party. And you know when you're single, you're looking for somebody to meet. You're always seeing if somebody's going to be exciting. I walk into the party, and I'm saying, gosh, I hope I meet a guy. And across the room, a man sees me, and I look very nice. He sees me standing here. And when he comes over to me and says, hi, how are you, what's your name? You know what he's really doing? He's not listening to the answers. He's taking his pipe, and he's sticking it into mine. Figuratively, right? And isn't that true? When you meet someone, in 3 seconds, you know how you feel about them. You tune in. How do I know how I feel about you? I just tune in and I say, guy gives me the creeps, or he feels like a nice guy. How do you know this? Because you're literally dipping into their tank. Seeing, is there anger in there? Is there grief in there? Is there love in there? So let's say some guy comes over, thinks I'm attractive, dips into my tank for 3 seconds as we talk, and what he feels in there is rage at my father, resentment at everybody in my life, all kinds of suppressed sadness about who I am. How's he going to feel talking to me? Well, I guess I'll just talk to somebody else. Is he going to want to go out with me? No. He's not going to say, boy, she had a dirty tank. He's going to say, she just wasn't my type. It didn't click. But that's what he means. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with me? Look, I'm exercising, I'm doing everything. Why can't I meet somebody? Now, I will meet some people. In fact, who will like the way my tank feels? Somebody with the same kind of tank. Someone with a lot of anger, a lot of resentment. They'll come along, they'll meet me and say, well, this feels like home. This feels nice. And I get to have a nice relationship with someone with a tank as dirty as mine. So for anyone single here, or anyone single watching this, you want to attract the right kind of partner into your life, clean out your tank. That's it. Clean out your tank. Do all the exercises in this program. Do all of the inner journeys. Write down all the things you're supposed to write down to learn about yourself. Get all that emotional tension down. Clean out your tank. You will be shocked that in 3 to 6 months you will attract a totally different kind of person into your life because your tank will be clean. Let's take this one step further. When you walk out of the house and you get into an elevator or go into a movie theater or go into a bank, you are a tank with your pipe with a lot of other tanks around you. Let's say you go into work. Let's say you're in sales or you relate to people somehow through your work, because most of us deal with people in our work or our charity work or dealing with our kids. And you meet somebody and you say, hi, my name is Mrs. Smith. What's yours? I'm selling cosmetics. And they dip into your tank and say, hi. Now, if they feel inside of you a low self-esteem, if they feel inside of you a lot of guilt or tension, are they going to want to do business with you? Are they going to like talking to you? No, they'll take their business somewhere else. What if they dip inside and they feel a lot of love, a lot of peace, because you've been cleaning out your tank. You've been using these techniques. You will notice even your prosperity, your income can increase just from keeping your tank clean. Let's take this one step further, even beyond this. Because I really believe that our whole planet is made up of 5 billion tanks with pipes. And we're all connected to some extent. This is why, for instance, some people say, I don't like crowds. You know why you don't like crowds? Because you're sitting in the middle of 100 tanks with everyone pushing down their feelings. And you're feeling it all. Oh, I love being in the country, open air, away from everybody. No tanks, no suppression, no ET except for your own. And this is why cities today feel so tense. You just walk into the city, I can't breathe here. Not because of the air, but because you can feel all the suppressed anger, all the suppressed heartache, all the pain. I truly believe that each of us contributes equally to how the world feels. And that we are all at each moment either suppressing and pushing down and tanking everyone around us or not. And remember before I talked about how in a relationship, when enough ET builds up, it will erupt at the weakest points in the relationship, your sex life or your communication. I believe that all of the eruptions of war and fighting and crime we see on the planet are just global expressions of collective emotional tension that we have all, you and me and your neighbor, contributed to. And that each time I don't tell my husband I'm sorry and stuff it down, I am contributing to war in the world. And that each time I yell at my kids instead of understanding their feelings, I am contributing to a lack of peace on the planet. I'm contributing to crime. And that enough of that tension, our anger, our resentments, our hostilities, our needs, our pain, the tears we haven't cried, when enough of that is stuffed down in enough people, somewhere it blows, just like we saw. The weakest point, maybe the weakest part of an inner city, maybe a part of the earth or Eastern Europe where there's a lot of pain already. And we look at someplace in Bosnia or we look at Africa or we look at the riots in Los Angeles and say, oh my gosh, they're having a problem there. But it's really our problem. I believe I am partially responsible for all of those things that happen. And therefore the opposite is true too. That every time you choose to feel something rather than suppress it, every time you choose to say, I love you, I forgive you, and use these techniques rather than to hold it in, you are contributing to peace in the world. You are making a difference. You're lessening the emotional pollution just a little tiny bit. And enough people do that, not only will your family feel different, your community will feel different, and the world will feel different. You can't change everything that's going on in the world, but you can change your world. You can't take away the tension and the anger that's happening 1,000 miles away, but you can deal with your tension and your anger. And I really believe that by making a commitment to cleaning out your own heart, to cleaning out your own home, to really using these techniques, to practicing them, applying them, knowing they won't be easy at first because they're new, but going back and going back, that you will become a peacemaker, that you will be making a difference in the world, the biggest difference anyone can make, and that you will be a very real part, you with your partner or with your friends or with your children, of creating peace on this planet. Thank you. You're about to see 2 demonstrations of people practicing using their emotional map to communicate the complete truth to one another. First, you'll be watching me with a couple, Laura and Steve, who are having a disagreement about cleaning up their home before they move out. You'll hear them get into a fight as they try to express their feelings in the old way, dumping their anger onto each other. Now remember, they're not acting. This was a real issue for them. Then, I'll remind them to use their emotional map and take turns communicating the complete truth to one another, as I explained in lesson 2 and 3 of your audio tapes. They'll start out with the anger, and then move through it expressing the hurt underneath, then the fear, the remorse, all the way down to the intentions and the love. I know you'll see and feel the difference in their relationship before and after. That's how powerful communicating the complete truth is.
You know what? It is not okay every time there's stuff to do around the house that I feel like I'm the only one that ever does it. You are so lazy. I have to get after you to do anything. You're okay with there being dirty dishes and crud all over the floor, that it's sticky when you walk through. There's a realtor coming to the house to look at the house, and you're okay with it being a slob, and every time I try to work around the house, you don't do anything. You're sitting around playing your stupid guitar, or, oh, I'm too tired, I've been working too hard. I'm so sick of it. I mean, it feels like every time I need to get anything done, I gotta get the whip out and start cracking at you and start nagging at you.
That's all you ever do. That's all you ever do is get the whip out and crack it and yell and scream about what's not good enough and what you want more. You want this, 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 and this, and this. I'm sick of your lists. I'm sick of you putting all these demands on me. It's ridiculous.
Well, if you do something other than play your guitar, I wouldn't have to have a list.
You want ridiculous things. I mean, so what if this lady's coming over? We're half packed. Who cares if the touch-up painting on the house isn't done yet or not? Who cares?
I don't care about the touch-up painting.
What does it matter? I don't care about these people. They're going to lease our house. Forget about it.
But I mean, it's not even the point
I'll paint the house when we move out.
It's not even about the touch-up paint or the realtors coming. It's the fact that you're okay with eating food and leaving it out on the counter with dirty food and dirty dishes. You can't even manage to get them into the dishwasher, and I'm supposed to be okay with that?
I've been working my butt off this week to get our new truck and all this stuff, and I'm sick of you coming down on me like this. I don't need this. I don't need you pushing this down my throat. And I don't want you being my mother or my teacher or anything. All right? I don't have to answer to you.
Well, you know what? I feel like I've got 2 kids. I feel like if I don't mother you and I don't remind you and make lists and tell you what to do, that you won't do it. How many times have I asked you to do something and I just kind of let it go? Do you ever do it? No. And the minute I bring it up, oh yeah, I was supposed to do it. Well, I'll do it now. And do you do it? No.
Who's going to want to do it the way you set it up? You want to like create this list for me, this demanding list. I don't want to do anything you ask me to do because of the way it's almost like you order me to do it. Forget it.
You think you are so perfect. Well, I got news for you. You're not. You are so far from perfect, it isn't even funny, and you wouldn't even be anywhere near as perfect as you think you are without me reminding you about it all the time. You wouldn't be getting that new truck if it weren't for me. You're used to settling for nothing in your life.
How dare you try to take credit for that?
Okay, let's just stop for a second. Take a deep breath. How do you feel when she does this to you?
I feel really nagged at and picked on. I mean, this is my home. This is my stepfather here. You know, giving me lists, demanding on me, always telling me what I did wasn't good enough.
You feel like she's listening to you? To your responses?
Absolutely not. It feels like she just wants to make me wrong and get one up on me. Well, you know, and come down on me like I'm the bad guy. And I'm sick of feeling that way.
Do you feel like he's listening to you?
No. I feel like every time I ask for something, every time I try to talk to him, he just tunes me off. He hears what he wants to hear. He never hears me.
Do you feel like he's not hearing you in this discussion, so maybe if you say more or yell more or say something, it's going to get to him?
Exactly. I feel like if I say it over and over again, or maybe a different way, or louder, that maybe he'll hear me, but he doesn't.
But it's not working.
No.
This isn't working for either of you.
No.
And it doesn't feel good.
No.
It doesn't feel like love. Okay. Why don't we try using the emotional map to go underneath the anger. Because you're never fighting about this. You're not fighting about the house. You're not fighting about who's cleaning it up. You're fighting about other issues. So let's give each of you a turn to use the emotional map, one step at a time, to tell the complete truth and try a whole different way of communicating that's going to resolve what's really going on and help you see how the other person's really feeling and work as a team and not as enemies, because you feel like enemies right now and you don't want to feel that way. Why don't you go first? And you can start out with the anger, and as you feel the other feelings come up, just move down through them and I'll help remind you if you need some help. And then you'll have a turn.
Steve, you know what? It really pisses me off that the realtor is coming to our house today, and last night we get home late. I'm trying to make the house nice so that we can lease it, so we can help our landlords out. And all you can do is think about playing your stupid guitar. You won't even be responsible to help me clean the house. You're like, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's stuff all over the floor. It doesn't matter if there's dirty dishes everywhere. And it pisses me off that every single time there's something to do that takes some responsibility that you don't do. You slough it all off on me. And when I ask you to do it, you tell me you'll do it. You still don't do it. And the only way it feels like I can ever get you to do anything is if I nag at you. And it pisses me off that I have to get to that extreme with you to get you to even hear me. And it hurts because it doesn't feel like you even care about listening to me. It feels like you just tune me out, like what I'm saying isn't important enough, that my needs aren't important enough to you, and that what you want is so much more important than me. And it hurts because I feel like I'm the one that's being responsible all the time. And it feels like we're not a team. It feels like I can't count on you to be there for me or to be there for our family, and that hurts. And it scares me because I don't know what to do. When I feel so unsupported, it reminds me of my father, and when he left me, I feel so abandoned. I feel like I'm doing everything on my own. I feel all alone. I feel like a scared little girl. And I just want to pick my toys up and go somewhere else and play. I want to run away from you, and I want to push you away. And I am so sorry that I do that. I totally see how I push you away when I get mad at you. And I try to make you wrong for everything instead of just sitting down with you and telling you how I feel. I just get mad at you. And I can totally see how it must feel like your stepfather and all the lists and things that he used to give you to do. And how everything you did was never good enough. And I'm so sorry that you're the last person I would ever want to hurt. I love you more than anything. And I am so happy to have you in my life. I would love for you and I to work as a team, to really be there for each other and really support each other. And I really need you to listen to me. I really need you to listen to me the first time. And I need you to hear and know that what I need is important too. And I want to do the same thing for you. I want to make your needs important, and I want to validate everything that you need. I really want to be there to support you and to be in your corner, being your cheerleader. I need the same thing from you. Because I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to grow old with you. I want to have more kids with you. I love you so much. And you are so special to me. I love you.
You take a turn.
Laura, it really pisses me off. Every time something doesn't go exactly your way, you want to blow it up into this big dramatic issue. I'm sick of everything being black and white, life and death. I'm sick of it. It's not that big of a deal. We're doing so much, we're changing so much. There's so much going on in our lives right now with this move and everything, and I'm sick of it. All right? I'm kicking butt in so many areas of my life. I don't need to come home and have you nagging at me, bitching at me that it's not good enough. All right? I'm doing way better than I was months ago. I'm totally happy with the way things are changing, and I don't need you trying to downplay it and throw negative crap on me every time. All right? I'm changing a lot of stuff in my life, and I don't need you nagging at me and bitching at me all the time. And I'm sick of everything being this big, gigantic explosion. I'm sick of it. All right? I want to come home and be supported. I don't want to come home and have like a naggy teacher, like, you know, giving me bad grades and stuff. I'm sick of that. All right? I don't need another parent in my life. I don't need you to try to parent me. You complain about always feeling like you're responsible. You're the one that makes yourself responsible. I don't do it to you. You do it to you. And I'm sick of it. And it really hurts that you make me an enemy all the time. I can't believe it. I mean, after all we've been through. You know, I work all the time to try to reach you and try to work through this stuff, and you always want to make me your father, you know, who has hurt you and did things to you. I'm not the enemy. You know, it hurts that you just want to push me away all the time. I feel like I've worked so hard to open up with you and show you who I really am and let you know how I really feel, and then all you want to do is step on me, you know? I mean, I don't need any more of that. I had so much of that when I was growing up. And I mean, I'm trying to have a fantastic life here, and it makes it so hard. It hurts when you jab at me like that. It hurts when you tell me I'm not doing it right and I'm not doing it good enough. I'm afraid this isn't going to go anywhere. I'm afraid we're stuck. I'm afraid that you're always going to be like this. I'm afraid I'm never going to be good enough for you. You know, I'm afraid you're always going to be putting more and more demands on me and not letting what I have or what I'm doing be good enough. It reminds me of my stepfather. Always big, long lists of things to do, you know? It makes me feel like I'm being beat up all over again. I mean, you know, I come home and you beat me up emotionally. And I know I expect so much from you. I'm so sorry for expecting you to carry so much weight. I mean, I've been putting in such long hours lately. And I've expected you to just be there for me and just be there picking up the slack when I can't give. And I'm so sorry I've put that on you. I know you felt that way growing up with you being an only child and your parents putting so much on you. And I'm so sorry. And I'm so sorry that I just want to push everything down and avoid it and just hide and run away and numb out, you know, leave or watch TV or get occupied with work or hobbies or whatever. I'm so sorry. I need you so much in my life. I love you so much. I want this to work out. I want us to be able to get through this. I want us to be able to be happy. I want us to support each other. I want to feel supported from you. You know, I want to feel like you really understand me, and I want to feel like you're there for me, and I want to be there for you. I want you to feel supported by me, and I really want us to try harder and start really making some changes with this, because I need this so much. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I love you more than anything, and you are so beautiful, and I'm so happy to have you, and you are extremely wonderful. And I love all the things you do for me, and I really loved how you made my birthday so special. That made me feel so good. And you really are a fantastic woman that I've been dreaming about for so long, and I'm so glad I have you.
Feels a lot better.
Yeah.
And part of what you do by using that map is realizing why what the other person did got such a big reaction from you. When he doesn't help, it makes you feel all alone again, just like you did when you were a little girl, trying to take care of everybody. when she criticizes, it puts you right back to being there with your stepfather. And it's his voice you're hearing. And it's his beatings, even though they're words this time. And you just want to hide. You don't want the blows, you just want to hide. And hearing the other person understand that that's what's happening, and understanding each other's wounds, you can stop, realize what's going on, get underneath the pattern, and be each other's support instead of each other's enemy. And realize you are in the same team and you both want exactly the same thing. But you each have little feelings and little buttons that are going to be pushed. And knowing what they are helps so much. And it helps to know that the person you love understands how you're feeling. Mm-hmm. Doesn't change what upsets you, but knowing they understand makes all the difference in the world, because then you can forgive them. Then you can let it go.
After I got angry with her and I started going into the other feelings and everything, you know, I could really feel that she was listening to me. I could really feel that you were hearing me and you were really understanding how I was feeling, instead of just coming back at me with another jab or something, you know. It felt really good to have her just there, being there for me, listening to me, wanting to know how I feel.
I am so excited to have a technique that we can use that can let you understand how I'm really feeling on the inside. Because that's all I've ever wanted, is for you to really understand how I feel. And it feels so good that we can do it in 10 minutes. And in 10 minutes, you can know exactly how I feel. And I can know exactly how you feel. And we can be a team again.
That was a great demonstration of how effective communicating the complete truth is when you use it in your relationships. Next, we'll watch a mother, Sally, and her daughter, Tanya, using the complete truth to resolve some tension they've been feeling between them. They've agreed to communicate the complete truth. Tanya, who is 10, will use her emotional map to talk to her mother first, and then her mother, Sally, will take a turn.
Mom, it really pisses me off when I have to talk to you and you say that you have to go somewhere, or you say, I can't talk right now, I have to make a call, or you're at work and I have to talk to you and you say, oh, I can't talk to you right now, I'm at work. It really makes me mad. Or when I bring home a school paper and it's an 80% and you say, oh, why couldn't it be 100? It's easy. Or when I'm doing something and you just come in and take over. I don't really like that, and it makes me really mad. And sometimes it doesn't seem like I'm good enough for you, or I'm not doing things good enough for you. It always has to be your way. And it really makes me mad when you do that. And it hurts me because sometimes it doesn't seem like you care enough or you love me enough for it. I'm afraid when you do that because it doesn't seem like it's always good enough, or it's not good enough for what you think it needs to be like. It scares me because it makes me think that you're not proud of me, and sometimes I need that. And sometimes you don't tell me that you're proud of me. It scares me when you do that because it doesn't seem like I'm gonna fit, or that it's always gonna be this way. And I don't want it to be that way. And I know sometimes that I do stuff and you get mad at some of that, and that I do some things wrong. I just wish that we can have a better relationship, and we can do more things together. And I just wish that when we are together, we can be happy, and instead of get in a fight. And I really need you to tell me sometimes that I'm pretty, that I'm doing good things. And I love you, and I want you to love me, and I want you to be happy. And I want you to be happy, and I appreciate the things that you do for me. And all the things you give me. I love you. I love you.
You know, Tanya, it makes me so angry when you don't listen to me. I have to tell you 5 times to clean your room, and it still doesn't get done. You take your clothes and you shove them under anything, and you don't pick up after yourself. I come home from work, and your stuff is just throughout the house. You know, I work so hard, and I have so many things going on. And I have such a stressful job. I get home, and it's like, your stuff is laying all over the living room, all over the place. There's food left out on the counter. And it's just because you can't pick up after yourself. It would take 5 minutes to just pick up as you go along. Makes me feel like you don't even care about me. Or my needs. And it really hurts me. It really hurts because I think you don't care. It really hurts to think that all you're interested in is yourself. It really hurts to know that every day I'm going to come home and it's going to be something. And it hurts to think that I haven't been a good enough example. It hurts me to think that I've done a bad job as a mom. That I haven't been able to show you the right way to do things. It hurts me so bad when you don't listen, because I think you don't care. And I'm really afraid that it's always going to be this way, that I'm always going to have to be on you. I'm always afraid that I'm always going to be this hard, heavy person, and I don't want to be that way. I'm really afraid that all these problems that we're going through is really going to get in the way of our relationship. You're at such a point in your life where you're changing, your body is changing, you're changing your school. Everything is changing for you, and I'm so afraid that all these problems are going to interfere with our relationship. I am so afraid that you're going to feel like you can't come to me. And I'm so afraid that our relationship isn't going to be good enough. I know how afraid you must be, and that really scares me, to think that I'm doing the same things that my mom did. And I'm so afraid you're going to feel like I'm not there for you. And I'm really sorry that I haven't been there for you. I'm so sorry that I haven't shown you what you need to see, that I haven't made time for you. I'm really sorry that my life is so busy and so hectic, that I don't make the time to play with you, to go to the park with you, to play ball with you. And I'm so sorry that I don't take the time every day to tell you how wonderful you are, and how beautiful I think you are, and how special you are to me. Because you are the most beautiful person in my life. And you mean so much to me. I want you to know that you're the most special person in my life. I want you to know that no matter what, I'm going to give you that time, and I promise you to set aside some time for you. I don't want anything to get in the way of our relationship. I don't want you to have to turn to other people. I want you to come to me and feel free and safe to come to me. I love you so much. You are so special. I am so glad that God gave you to me, because I wouldn't want it to be anybody else. There's nothing I want to change about you. You're my special little girl. From the time you were born until now. I love you.
Now I understand why you get mad at me for not doing my chores or cleaning up. And it felt good to hear you tell me what you need me to do and how much you love me. It felt really good.
By listening to everything you just said to me, I realized how much I haven't been there for you. And how it's been so much easier to tell you what you're doing wrong, instead of taking the time to tell you what you're doing right, and that you are very special, and that I think you're absolutely beautiful, and that you are the most important little girl in the whole world to me. And that I'm really, really glad that God gave you to me. I think you are so beautiful. There isn't anything that I would want to change about you. And I'm really sorry that I haven't taken the time to tell you that. And to tell you how special you are. And that I think you're one of God's most beautiful creatures in the whole world. And that I really do love you.
and that I am going to be there for you, and I am going to take the time to spend with you and give you that quality time. I will always be here for you. And I love you. More than anything in the world, I love you.
I hope the information and demonstrations in this video seminar have given you new ways to understand and improve all of your relationships. You'll want to watch this tape several times to get the maximum benefit and really absorb the information. I can tell you from my own experience that these techniques and principles really work when you put them into practice. So don't put it off. Start applying everything you've been learning to your own life, and I know you'll begin seeing positive results before you know it.